All right, we went 3-2 in our 5 premium sports picks on BrockPage.com yesterday. We're also hitting at 75% in our last 16 NBA tier package picks on that very same website. And the good news is we have another NBA tier package pick going off here this evening. And if you want to access today's NBA tier package pick on BrockPage.com, link for that pick is in the description section below. The Cavaliers take on the Wizards, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off tonight. Washington's minus 3.5, totals 209. The Wizards won 3 out of their last 4 ball games. They've been very good at home this season. As a matter of fact, the Wizards are winning 80% of their ball games at the Capital One Arena. They're one of the better rebounding teams in the game. Washington's currently in the top 3 in home offensive rebounding. Top 10 in home defensive rebounding as well. Now, scoring-wise, Bradley Beal's averaging over 22.5 points a night, along with 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Meanwhile, Big Montrezl Harrell is scoring over 16.5 points a game himself, 8 rebounds, 2 assists for Trez. The Wizards are currently in the top 10 in home scoring. They've covered in 80% of their ball games in front of their home fans. They're taking on a Cleveland squad who lost 5 out of their last 8 despite their recent success. The Cavs are scoring just 103 points a game, and they're dead last in the NBA in second quarter scoring on the road. Meanwhile, defensively, the Cavaliers are actually in the bottom 5 in the league in fourth quarter points allowed as well. Now, injury-wise, Osman is out, Wade is doubtful. Meanwhile, for Washington, Thomas Bryant is still out for them. Holiday and Avdija are questionable. When it comes to the total, Washington's last 3 straight got over the number. 4-1 to the over in their last 5. Meanwhile, 3 out of Cleveland's last 6 got over the total themselves, throwing out that Miami game. I'm going to lean toward Washington, minus 3.5, over 209. Next game, Heat Pacers, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Indiana's minus 5.5, totals 208. But despite how bad they've been playing here recently, the Pacers still have a winning record at home this year. And they've also done a really nice job rebounding the basketball offensively. They're currently in the top 10 in the league in that category. Malcolm Brogdon scoring 21 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Meanwhile, Domantas Sabonis is dropping 17.5 a night. 11 boards, 4 assists for Boney. The Pacers are in the top 3 in the NBA in first quarter scoring. They're taking on a Miami squad who's going to work here tonight without their top guys, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. The Heat also lost 3 out of their last 4 ball games, 1-5 against the spread in their last 6. Miami's currently in the bottom 5 in the NBA in second quarter scoring. They also lost 6 out of their last 9 meetings with a Central Division opponent. And when it comes to the total in this one, 3 out of Miami's last 4 did get over the posted number. The Heat's also 60% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Indiana went 4-1 to the over in their last 5 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Pacers, minus 5.5, over 208. Next ball game, it is going to be Sixers versus the Hawks, 7:30 Eastern tip-off. Atlanta's minus 1.5, totals 213. Despite the absence of Bogdan Bogdanovic here this evening, the Red Hot Hawks have won 8 out of their last 9 ball games. They covered in 78% of those contests. The Hawks also play their best basketball at the State Farm Arena. They're 8-2 straight up in front of their home crowd. And they successfully covered the point spread 7 times during that span. Trae Young scoring 26 points a game, 3 rebounds, 9 assists for Trae. He's also drilling nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, John Collins is drilling 40% of his 3 balls himself, 16 points a game and 7 boards for Collins. The Hawks are currently in the top 10 in scoring, top 3 in shooting the 3-ball. They're taking on a Philly team who lost 7 out of their last 10, and they really struggled to rebound the basketball. The Sixers are currently in the bottom 3 in the NBA in offensive rebounding. Meanwhile, defensively, they've actually had a tough time guarding the three ball. They're currently in the bottom 10 in the NBA in defensive three-point percentage. Now, total-wise, 6 out of Philly's last 8 fell under the posted number. The Sixers are officially 67% to the under when traveling. Meanwhile, Atlanta's gone 60% to the under at the State Farm Arena. I'm going to lean toward Atlanta minus 1.5, under 213. Next matchup, it is going to be Timberwolves versus the Nets, 7:30 Eastern start time. Brooklyn's minus 7, totals 222.5. The Nets have gotten the W in 8 out of their last 10 ball games. First in the NBA in guarding the three ball. The Nets are holding their opponents to just 30% shooting from three land. Brooklyn's also in the top 3 in defensive field goal percentage. Now, scoring-wise, Kevin Durant's dropping over 28.5 points per contest, 7 rebounds, 5 assists for KD. Durant's also drilling nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, James Harden scoring 21 points a night, 8 rebounds, 9 assists for the Beard. The Nets are in the top 10 in scoring, top 3 in shooting from beyond the arc. They're taking on a Minnesota team who may have to go to work without their best player, Karl Anthony Towns. He's currently battling a back injury and is listed as questionable for tonight's action. And speaking of questionable, Vanderbilt, Noel, Edwards, and McDaniels, they're all questionable for tonight's action as well. The T-Wolves failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of their last 4 ball games. They also have a losing record on the road this season. The Timberwolves are allowing 115 points a night when traveling. And in addition to that, they're also in the bottom 5 in defensive rebounding. Now, total-wise, Minnesota's 13-9 to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Nets are 64% to the under at the Barclays Center. I'm going to lean toward Brooklyn minus 7, under 222.5. Next contest, Magic Rockets, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Houston's minus 3, numbers 218. The Red Hot Rockets are on a 4-game winning streak, 5-1 against the spread in their last 6. The Rockets are currently in the top 5 in what are they again? They're in the top 5 in defensive field goal percentage at home, top 10 in guarding the three ball. Now, scoring-wise, Christian Wood is dropping 16 points a game, 11 boards, couple assists for Wood. Meanwhile, Eric Gordon's drilling 42% of his three-pointers, 13 points a night, and 2 rebounds for Igor. And speaking of offense, the Rockets are in the top 10 in the NBA in offensive rebounding at home. They're taking on a Magic team who's won just 3 out of 13 road games. Orlando's averaging just 99 points a game, and they're shooting only 31% from three land. Meanwhile, defensively, the Magic's in the bottom 10 in points allowed per contest. Now, injury-wise, Moore and Carter Williams, they're out for Orlando. Meanwhile, for Houston, Green is still out. Porter's doubtful. When it comes to the number in this one, Houston's 60% to the under in their last 10. 6-3 to the under in their last 9 at the Toyota Center. Give me Houston minus 3, under 218. Next contest, Pels, Mavs, 8:30 East. Dallas is minus 7.5, totals 216. Despite the potential absence of Kristaps Porzingis, the Mavs are still 6-3 straight up at home. And they're in the top 10 in shooting from the field there. Luka Doncic is scoring over 25.5 points a game, 7 rebounds, 8 assists for Luka. Meanwhile, Jalen Brunson is scoring over 14.5 points a night himself, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for the guard. Now, defensively, the Mavs are in the top 10 in the NBA in fewest fourth-quarter points allowed at home. They're taking on a Pelicans team who dropped 10 out of their last 13 on the road. The Pels are averaging just 100 points per contest when traveling, and they're currently in the bottom 5 in shooting from the field. Meanwhile, defensively, on the other end of the court, New Orleans is letting their opponents make nearly 49% of their field goals against them on the road. Now, injury-wise, Williamson and Holmes are still out. Hart is questionable. Meanwhile, for Dallas, once again, Porzingis and Ntilikina are questionable. Cauley Stein is out. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, 6 out of Dallas's last 9 at the American Airlines Arena fell under the posted number. They're officially 60% to the under for the entire year. Meanwhile, the Pelicans are 9-4 to the under when traveling, 63% to the under for the entire season themselves. I'm going to lean toward Dallas, minus 7.5, under 216. Next ball game, Celtics, Jazz, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Utah's minus 8, totals to 11. Utah won 6 out of their last 8 ball games, 8-4 straight up on their home court. The Jazz are in the top 3 in scoring, top 3 in offensive field goal percentage. Donovan Mitchell is scoring 23 points a game, 4 rebounds, 5 assists for Don. Meanwhile, Bojan Bogdanovic is scoring over 16.5 points a game himself, along with 4 boards. Bogey's also draining 40% of his 3 balls. And speaking of 3-pointers, Utah's in the top 5 in shooting the 3 ball at home. Meanwhile, defensively, the Jazz are holding their opponents to just 103 points a game. And they're in the top 3 in defensive rebounding. They're taking on a Boston team who's going to work here tonight without Jaylen Brown. The Celtics failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of their last 4. And they're currently shooting just 31% from beyond the arc when traveling. The Celtics are also in the bottom 10 in shooting from the field. Meanwhile, defensively on the other end of the court, the Celtics have struggled to rebound defensively on the road. Now, injury-wise, once again, Jaylen Brown, he is listed as out for Boston. Meanwhile, for the Jazz, Azubuike is out. O'Neal and Forrest are questionable. Total-wise, Utah's last 2 straight got over the line. 7-2 to the over in their last 9. I'm going to lean toward Utah, minus 8, over 211. Next contest, Suns, Warriors, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Golden State's minus 7, totals 216.5. The Warriors have won 7 out of their last 8 ball games, 80% against the number in their last 10. Golden State's also been really good at home this year. They're 10-1 straight up at the Chase Center, and they successfully covered the number in over 83% of those home contests. The Warriors currently lead the NBA in shooting from the field at home. They're also averaging 117 points a game at the Chase Center. Steph Curry scoring 27 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists for Steph. He's also drilling over 41% of his 3-pointers. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiggins is averaging over 18.5 points a game himself, along with 4 rebounds. The Warriors are in the top 3 in offensive 3-point percentage at home. Meanwhile, defensively, they allow fewer points per contest than any other team in basketball. Golden State's currently limiting their opponents to just 31% shooting from beyond the arc at home. They're taking on a Phoenix team who's going to work here today without Devin Booker. Probably going to be a little bit of time out for Booker. He's currently out indefinitely with a hammy issue. The Suns have also covered the number in just 4 out of their last 10. They actually struggled this year in the rebounding category. Phoenix is currently in the bottom 10 in road offensive rebounding, bottom 5 in road defensive rebounding as well. Now, injury-wise, once again, Booker is out. Nader is questionable. Meanwhile, for Golden State, Iguodala is still out for them. When it comes to the number in this one, Golden State saw a contest with Toronto and Detroit get over the number recently. Meanwhile, Phoenix went 6-2 to the over in their last 8 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Golden State minus 7 over 216.5. Next and final matchup, Clippers-Lakers, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. The Lakers are minus 1.5, totals 217 and a hook. And as good as the Lakers have looked here over the past week or so, these guys are still just 4-10 against the spread in the Staples Center. The Lakers are allowing nearly 114 points a game defensively, and they're in the bottom 3 in defensive rebounding per game. Matter of fact, the Lakers allow more points per contest at home than any other team in the association. They're taking on a Clipper team who's got a winning record at the Staples Center themselves. The Clippers are allowing just 104 points a game, and they're in the top 10 in defensive field goal percentage, playing pretty good defensively this year are the Clippers. Now, scoring-wise, Paul George is averaging nearly 26 points a game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists for PG. Meanwhile, Reggie Jackson's dropping 17 points a game himself, 3 rebounds, 3 assists for Reg. The Clippers are in the top 10 in second quarter scoring. Now, when it comes to the injury report, Batum and Preston are still out for the Clippers. LeBron and AD are questionable for the Lakers. When it comes to the total in this one, 3 out of the Lakers' last 4 got over the posted number. The Lakers are officially 70% to the over in their last 10. 9-5 to the over at the Staples Center. I'm going to lean toward the LA Clippers plus 1.5 over 217 and a hook. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we are hitting at 75% in our last 16 NBA tier package picks. I like Washington minus 3.5 over 209. Indiana minus 5.5 over 208. Atlanta minus 1.5 under 213. Brooklyn minus 7 under 222.5. Houston minus 3 under 218. Dallas minus 7.5 under 216. Utah Jazz minus 8 over 211. Golden State minus 7 over 216.5. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are hitting at 75% in our last 16 NBA tier package picks on brockpage.com. I'm going to lean toward the LA Clippers plus 1.5 over 217 and a hook. And with that, guys, now it's time for our shout out of the day. And that's going to go to Stephen Coffey, who said earlier this morning, "You are awesome." All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. If you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on brockpage.com, you're going to get access to those picks all the way through the end of December. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. I'll tell you what, if you sign up now, you're certainly getting darn near max value for your money. But anyway, guys, most importantly, I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.